Welcome to our second webinar, How to Stop Emotional Trading. And with me is Aaron Bry from Benzinga. As always, we'll have to start our webinar with a legal disclaimer. Today's webinar is mainly for information and education purposes only, and there is no investment advice of any shape or form. So we do appreciate that we keep this in mind as we proceed with the content today. So who are we? Briefly, we'll do a quick introduction. My name is Carolyn Bao. I'm the VP of Marketing for Moomoo Inc. in the US. I'm very excited to be here because one of my personal beliefs and hobbies, honestly, is personal finance. So since joining Moomoo, I have found it just really rewarding to be able to both learning the industry, more investing knowledge, and be part of this mission that Moomoo is in to provide the best tools and best data to any proactive investor who wants to take a better control of their personal finance. With that, I'll pass the baton to Aaron.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? My name's Aaron. I work at Benzinga. If you're unfamiliar with Benzinga, we are
Aaron, are you able to get your phone working?
Can you not hear me right now?
Great. Wonderful.
Testing?
Great. Go ahead, Aaron.
So if you're unfamiliar with Benzinga, we're a financial news outlet that covers everything in the stock market to cryptocurrencies. So you can find us on our website. I help out on some podcasts and YouTube live shows. So you can find us on YouTube, give us a follow on Twitter, TikTok, you name it. And I've been investing in the market since I was 16 years old. So coming up on 10 years here. And I've just fallen in love with it like a lot of people. I got a lot more into it during COVID, so over the past 2 years. And yeah, I'm really excited to share with you guys my experience today and help you guys learn some more about trading.
Wonderful. So for us, one of the things we want to remind you all is today, if you have provided your Moomoo ID, and this is all me, sorry. If you have provided your Moomoo ID to us as you sign up for the webinar, you'll be able to get 1,000 points in the Moomoo rewards mall. I believe that's how we call it. And you can redeem a limited time Moomoo t-shirt. The other thing is, if you don't yet have a Moomoo ID, it is very easy to do so. Go to www.moomoo.com, look for downloads, and you will be able to download the app and be able to log in for a Moomoo ID. Last one, definitely not the least, is our goal is to not just preaching or telling what you should hear, but really this is a two-way dialogue. We really want to make an opportunity for all of us who are on the call to type in your questions as the content proceeds and be able to voice your opinion, so that later, as we proceed into the Q&A section, we can quickly address some of the top questions or provide you with additional follow-up for things that are mostly important for you. So Aaron, one of the things I know you have mentioned, you started trading at 16. This is really incredible. Have you seen, any trader who are always rational, or maybe, if you were to put maybe the earlier self and the newer self, where do you fit in that rational and irrational sort of chart?
Yeah, and Carolyn, it's interesting because a lot of times when you're first investing, I mean, sometimes like anything else, you'll have a little bit of beginner's luck and you'll think, okay, this is easy. You can buy this stock or sell this stock. But and this morning is a great example, right? We had this terrible news last night of Russia invading Ukraine. The markets all opened lower. And I know a bunch of people out there that went out, and what they bought puts on the market. They were essentially betting that the market would continue to move lower because they're seeing all these news headlines about Russia and Ukraine. And the opposite happened. Essentially the markets rebounded from the lows they opened from this morning. And those people that put on the shorts right at the open lost some money. So it's easy to behave in that way, think you're doing something rational, but it's actually irrational in terms of the market. So it's important. And what we're going to talk about today is learning how do you take those emotions out of trading? How do you take how you're feeling out of trading, and thus, help propel your portfolio and do better in the markets?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually dug around and we found this excellent chart. It really illustrates just in general how do retail investors do managing our emotions. We all understand that trading stocks, put it in a simple way, is to buy low and sell high with most other products too, merchandise. But the challenge is we don't always know where the data is actually trending. So this chart, I'll break it down briefly. The blue bars here represents sell or buy sort of collective behavior of retail investors. Anytime that peaked above the zero line is when retail investors bought, and anytime the blue bar falls below the zero is when they sold. But you will, very ironically, the green curve line is actually the how the market itself actually went. What's really sad is if you look at 2004, most folks bought when the market was actually not that great. There was a small dip, and you'll see when the market dipped further in 2008, everybody sold. However, when it went back, the selling continues. It seems like it was really difficult to time the market.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, there's all this data out there indicating that, when people sell, you end up missing some of the best days in terms of returns. So, really over time, the best way to invest has historically, and again, this is not investment advice, but historically has been to stay in stocks and actually continue to add positions as they go lower, as opposed to selling when they're down, and then buying when you see the stocks coming back up.
That's right. And what we have done is we know one of the rules of thumb, or sort of test and true, tried and true principle by Warren Buffett is, if you could hold, you'll be rich, right? Almost all of us may have seen how Warren's personal wealth didn't balloon until in his own late 50s. So for all of us out there, there's brighter days ahead of us. How to buy and hold, which is probably a simpler strategy, requires some analysis of our own risk tolerance and becoming a better investor. So let's dive right into the content. What we have seen is if we don't manage or recognize our emotions, we tend to make some mental shortcuts. And this is very common in life. We do the same. If the traffic light changes, I better hurry up because I may not make that next turn. Or they're little signals that we have, right? So the mental shortcuts is a way that helps us to get okay and get most of the job done in life. But some of these shortcuts, when it comes to trading stocks, which legitimately is a pretty tough sport, we really want to be objective as possible. And with that, we have found that there are three kinds, if you will. There are a lot of the biases that average traders have. So I'm curious, Aaron, have you come across any of these behaviors, from the traders community?
Yeah, definitely, and I'll just run through these real quick. So the first one is aversion to loss, and this is referring to that the psychological impact of a loss can be a lot more powerful than a gain, and I've found that especially when I first started trading early, I would think about a loss that I had for like weeks, and I would never really do that with the winners because I expected to win so much. I expected to be successful in my trade. So when I wasn't, it really had a bigger impact than the wins. And we'll talk about more of this later, but it's really important to, kind of journal and keep track of those losses and what caused you to get into that trade. The second one is a diagnosis bias, and that's just when if you already have a preconceived notion about something in your head, then you're going to see information that confirms that belief, and you're going to dismiss information that goes against that belief. So if I say, love Apple as a company, I'm going to continue to see more and more news that reaffirms my belief that Apple's a great company, and I may dismiss some things that are not so great about the company. And then the third one is commitment and value attribution. So this is where you get, again, kind of a preconceived notion about, in this case, a company or stock. And say you're looking at a company and you say, oh, that's a bad company, I'm never going to invest in it. Well, maybe they changed their board and maybe they're doing some cool things and maybe the stock price is coming back up and you missed out on all of that because you had already decided in your head that this wasn't a good company.
Yeah, that's very true. In that, by that note, by the way, I'd love to see if any of you guys in our audience, have we all have had moments like these? I feel like I am raising my hand already as I speak. The Rivian IPO, I bet, had stirred a lot of interest. I'd love to see a show of hands. What have all of us done as a trader from an emotional trading standpoint? So I'm gonna launch the poll. Highly encourage you all. It's a quick vote. Cast your vote. Let us know who we are as a trader. I'm really jealous of the second option. This is not easy, but if you are doing that already, kudos to you.
Yeah, and I'll just talk about on the second point up here. I'm going to hold on to this stock a bit longer and see if it bounces back. I'm very guilty of that. Sometimes we refer to that as bag holding. When you get into a stock and it drops, you're stuck holding the bag. And a lot of times, I mean, the trend is your friend. So if a stock is in a downtrend, there's nothing wrong with being able to recognize that and kind of cut your losses if you need to. But also, I mean, if a stock's moving down, it's also a great opportunity to kind of dollar cost average in and lower your cost basis. So there are a lot of different options. It really depends on what your goals are in terms of what you're trying to do in the market.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I know we're going to talk about that as well.
We are. So I'm going to just take a pause. I saw about almost 100 of us have casted our votes, and the pattern is forming. So let's go ahead and take a look at the poll.
Yeah, so 89% of people have said that they've emotional traded before. Well, good, Caroline, because this will give us an opportunity to kind of talk more about that and how we can avoid that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, you all, we're in the right house. This is the place where we are taking a little bit of a quick plan to see how we can better control ourselves. So, how do we then move from this intuitive decision-making to rational decision-making? Ultimately, it is depending on data, but how you use data and what kind of data you should be using is not usually really kind of explained. With that, what we have done here at Moomoo is interviewing a lot of the experts and really discussing their successes. We have found many successful traders, or in this sense, kudos to those who have always had good self-control. You guys probably recognize this, which is a trifecta of becoming a better trader. And this is an iterative process. What we highly recommend is, if you don't remember much from today's webinar, this is the visual that we would like to impart you with, which is always remember this is a virtuous loop. Start from self-observation to determining a trading plan that fits your needs, and analyze and reflect so that you can improve. And you repeat that again in every trade. Almost every single trade should follow this loop. How does that look like? Self-observation. This feels almost like us going to see our psychologist, doesn't it? Well, one of the things, Aaron, we have found is Jesse Livermore had this excellent quote, really reaffirming the fact that the markets are driven by two emotions, greed and fear. It's either I can make more, or oh my gosh, I'm losing, I'm cutting my losses. If we're driven by either, it is when our emotions are running high, and it's important probably to reflect and recognize that.
Yeah, and I don't know if we did this on purpose, but that quote, one slide back is great on a day like today, because it's really easy to get caught up in the news cycle and everyone's all doom and gloom with Russia invading Ukraine and everything. But like Mr. Livermore says in this quote, right? Humans are humans, and human nature never changes, right? There will always be bad things going on. There'll always be a reason to sell and things to be scared of, but that's why it's important to kind of take your emotions out of it, and you can see that with what's going on in the markets today. So again, I just thought that was very timely in terms of what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when things that we obviously could not have predicted did happen. What is our plan B? Do we have cushion in our trading plan to kind of deal with these volatilities? And this is actually where we have summarized a few things here, just as a quick reference points for all of us to think about. The first is, you know, confront our flaws and losses. I think this is something I personally almost can reflect on. Sometimes I would say, oh, the market was so bad. This sucks. Instead of thinking, oh, this sucks because my trading plan didn't factor the market challenges. This is about us really taking responsibility. As this is one thing. The second, as you mentioned, Aaron, maintaining a trading journal. Explain to us a little bit. I know you have started trading way back when no trading apps was available. How did you do your trading journal, and how we have mentioned the three things, right? Your trading hypothesis, your mental emotional state, jotting down how you're feeling, and the last one is your physical reactions. I mean, did you do this kind of elaborated journal, or what were the things that are important as you reflect back on some of the trades you've done that were really successful?
Yeah, and actually implementing a trading journal was one of my first steps in becoming, I would say, more of a proficient trader than when I first started. I would say for the first year and a half, I kind of was just doing things on a whim, figuring, hey, I'd learn as I go. And at least I'll say this, was smart enough to know, okay, I'm only going to do this with money I'm kind of, I have on the side that I'm willing to lose. And we'll talk more about that later, kind of your risk tolerance. But I started just keeping notes on pen and paper, kind of saying why I got into a certain trade, why I sold or why I bought. And it really helped me figure out, like, okay, this is why I did that. That's why that worked. Or this is why I did that, and that's why this didn't work. So then I knew what to never do again in the future, and what to try to kind of repeat. So again, it's very hard a lot of times for new traders, but do that. Just take notes, try to have a plan, and it'll help you in the long run. And as far
Yeah,
as
this is a. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, as far as the physical reactions, I mean, I'm a little anxious by nature. So trading to me, whether it's on playing sports or video games or trading, it's, you know, I'm always a little bit anxious. So
I want to spy on your heart rate monitor as you trade.
yeah,
Because,
exactly.
this heart rate and trading journal, actually, as I'll continue that sports analogy to your point, Aaron, trading really feels very much like a sport. And if we, as we play sports, all know, we would start to kind of reflect and think about, this, if I were a tennis player, this swing that I did last time didn't quite hit the ball in the right place. I'll probably reflect on that, even if we may not write it down, but that's already what we're doing. Same rules really should apply when it comes to trading.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Great. Let's take a look at then, as Moomoo users, and many of you guys are, how can you leverage this tool to kind of practice that? One of the things we just mentioned is taking a journal, know what you're trading. What if you could try practicing that in an environment that's safe, which means even if that analysis was wrong, you lose no penny. That's what paper trading is about. And there are a lot of apps that do provide simulated trading, paper trading. We personally have, or I should say, I personally have tried paper trading elsewhere and have found this is super helpful. In fact, most recently, a nonprofit organization promoting teen investing literacy has partnered with Moomoo to provide paper trading competition capability to high school teens globally. And the reason is we designed it in such a way that's obviously commercial free. It's always commercial free in the app itself. But at the same time, you trade with real time market data. So where you can find this is you want to go hit the Me tab in the bottom menu, and you want to click on the market that you would like to trade in. In fact, because Moomoo supports global trading, you can either pick Hong Kong or China or US, and every time you start a paper trading, you automatically have $1 million in your account, which is kind of nice. I personally wouldn't be able to easily pony up that much in my personal savings. So this gives you also though the flexibility to place some bigger bets. Far often I've heard some customers saying, or actually friends, honestly, hey, I would say Amazon has been doing great. The first reaction was, oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. Or even other stocks that may be in the range of hundreds. So having this default $1 million to go with right away really comes handy.
Yeah, and this is what I love, Carolyn, about the app is that it's all within. I mean, it's so much easier to do this all in one place. I mentioned how when I started, I would do, pen and paper to take notes or whatever. But being able to do, paper trading in the app, it makes it a lot more useful for users. So I think it's great that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. And on that note, we have mentioned about take trading notes. So where do you take trading notes? Can you do that in an app itself? Because to your point, Aaron, keeping a journal, I am I'm one of the worst when it comes to keeping my notebook around. Just for work alone, I have like 5 notebooks, one in first floor, one in second floor. So I personally wouldn't want to deal with pen and paper anymore. When I found out that we actually support trading notes, I was pretty excited. Where you can find it is for any of the stock quotes itself. Consider the first graph as our sort of landing page for any stock. You can hit, there is a little icon that looks like a little notebook. You can hit on that notebook and you will be able to then enter a note about where your daily position is, and you can quickly reflect on whether you would like to trade this, what's the price you would like to enter. In fact, later we can also show you where to find this app within the product itself. But with
Yeah.
that said, I think we'll probably talk about just sort of the leveling up. Do you think sometimes us as traders do realize that our emotions are running high? I think sounds like Aaron, you're definitely very self-aware. You know when your heartbeat is running faster. I guess something we would like to remind our audience today is really kind of pause and recognizing, geez, I need to step away instead of probably being seized by those hard running emotions.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it's one of those things that's so hard to step away from. But we all have to do it. I mean, the best traders in the world will tell you they don't spend every single market hour at their computer trading. They will take times to step away. And you really need to, in order to kind of have that introspection and analyze and say, what did I do here? What did I do wrong? Was I being too greedy here? Was I not being aggressive enough? And so taking that time away is very important. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
yeah, and especially when things get tough, it's important to kind of take that mental health break, maybe go out and just get a quick walk in, do something because you're not going to be able to be on 100% of the time.
Yeah. So with that, then now that we have recognized who we are, when our emotions run high, we have mentioned to have a trading plan. So what is a trading plan? It sounds easy, let your profits run, cut your losses short. That's what probably all of us would like to pursue. But how do we do that? This is, Aaron, this is very interesting. It's a little bit of sort of peeking behind the kitchen moment. We as a team discuss about this, and I think we've had several ways to present this concept, but we boil down to this really simple plan. Um, you know, one of the things we recognize is every trade is almost very similar to a business transaction. Imagine we're negotiating with Google and say, if we want to invest in Google, we're negotiating with Amazon. If we want to invest in Amazon, that is when every time we make that decision, we need to kind of ask ourselves just 2 questions because it's ultimately a risk versus reward analysis. And Aaron, you have alluded to that earlier too. One is, what is your risk tolerance? And the second is, how much time can you spend so that you can do some deeper research? Because let's say Google is $28.91 yesterday. If I have a lot of time, I'd do a lot of research. And tomorrow, when it rises up to 28.95, I'll do some trade and I'll sell. And I can earn $4 per share. Wow. But that requires time, right? This is the second part, is the time commitment. The first part of the risk tolerance, I totally agree with you, Aaron. If you need this money in near term, I almost wanted to say, like, stop. Um, don't don't buy anything risky.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's about determining your goals in the market. And so if you have, say, a few $1,000s that you're going to use for a home improvement project and you want to use that to make a few extra bucks, sure, you can maybe do some things in the market, but you'd have to be a lot safer and more cognizant of that rather than saying, okay, for myself, I know there are certain stocks that I'm willing to hold on for a very, very, very long time. And with those, I'm willing to have a longer time commitment on, and it's not as big of a deal for me if I see that stock down, say 20, 30% over a couple months, because I know, oh, who cares if it's down 20%? I'm holding this for 5, 10 plus years. So always keep in mind kind of your risk tolerance. Do you need this money? Are you going to need it in the short term? Or is this something that you can really put aside and just keep there forever and not even look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. The kind of money that you don't need, especially one of the rule of thumb is, whether your day-to-day cash flow depends on this money, that is very different kind of risk tolerance versus I don't need this money until 1 to 3 years later, or I don't even need this money perhaps ever. Then your risk would really change depending on the purpose of that money. Awesome. So with that said, once, let's say, we have recognized the purpose of that money as well as the amount of time we can invest, here are some examples of trading plans. And again, it could feel really overwhelming to say, gosh, geez, I just wanted to park my money in some stocks. Now I have to talk about a trading plan. But if we really kind of anchor around every stock that we do buy or sell itself requires a plan. That's what I have personally found really easy to kind of making sure every time we make some money related decision, we follow some sort of plan. And that's what these examples are for. Therefore, very specific trade. And I think, Aaron, you alluded to one of the examples below here. For instance, you want to buy more shares of the same stock because the stock, you believe it's in its fundamentals, you want to hold it. So every time, if the stock is for instance, about 5% below your purchase price, you're automatically buying more.
Yeah, and just a quick example. I mean, so for this is called dollar cost averaging, and it's one of the best way to help your return over time. So say I buy a stock, Carolyn, for $100, and then it goes down to $80, and I buy that stock again at $80, the same amount. Now my cost basis is $90, and say that stock goes to 120. Great. Now instead of making $20 a share from 100 to 120, I've made $30 a share from 90 to 120. So it can be a great way to help your cost basis.
Yeah, this totally, and this helps with users who, users, our friends here. This really helps with investors who may not be may not be able to afford the time to go out and explore myriads of new stocks, but really stick with the ones that and there are definitely a lot of examples of those. I may want to even just explain something I saw last year from Warren and Charlie Munger's conversation at their annual shareholders meeting. It was really funny when Warren was asked, why did you sell Costco? And he said, yeah, that's one of the bad decisions I made. And Charlie said, I hold on to Costco, and that's a good company. It was just
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah, and there are certain times, because I saw people in the chat discussing it, there are certain times where dollar cost averaging makes sense and certain times where it doesn't. I'll give an example. I have a recurring investment in the S&P 500 every month. So take this past 6 weeks or so when the markets have been going down, I still have an investment going out there, the same amount every single month. And over time, the S&P 500 historically has gone up. So I'm maximizing my returns right now as the market's going down. And doing so, there's sometimes where even Warren Buffett will pick a losing stock, and you don't want to keep averaging into a stock that's just going down, down, and down. We've seen Cathie Wood do that a couple times the past year or so. So there, it's not an 100% thing. There sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
That's right. That's actually one of the upcoming topics that we are going to cover as well in this webinar series by Moomoo, which is how do you better understand and analyze the fundamentals of a stock? Because as it goes with just even our daily life, when we buy anything, we don't want to buy a lemon. And how do you really discern a lemon from a stone or rotten egg? We'll talk about that in our upcoming webinars. I know we have a lot of content, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Where and how then? We mentioned about Warren Buffett. We mentioned about Cathie Wood. They are pretty famous investors, institutional investors. Wouldn't that be better if we have a shortcut to see what they're doing? So at least, this lifts the veil for, oh, I hear about Cathie Wood buying this, buying that. Where is this one central place? I can see all of their movements. That's what Moomoo has built into its app. It's called institutions tracking. So where is that? It's under the Explore tab on the top. The Moomoo app seems to be overwhelming on the first look, but once you get a hang of the bottom mega menu and the top mega menu, it becomes easier. So on the top mega menu, you'll hit Explore. This is where Moomoo's curated information comes in, and most of its stock analysis tools come in. And in here, consider the Explore as a landing page. You want to scroll just down a little bit to look for institutional tracking. And in here, you will be able to then see all of the institutions are shown by default by their market cap. You can change the ranking by position increase or position decreased. And then let's say you pick one of the holdings. In here, we have the Vanguard Group, and you will be able to quickly see what does the Vanguard Group currently hold, all of the stocks that they're holding. And if you say one of them piqued your interest, you click on that stock and there's a little heart icon. You click on that heart icon. Wow, you add that into your watch list. At this point, we've spent no penny, no time, well, a few seconds, but we also do not incur any losses because you're simply adding an interesting stock from the institutional holders to your own watch list. And I highly recommend don't buy anything unless we have studied and observed it later on. So that's one of, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just going to say that's another thing that makes it easy in this app, because in the past, I've always had to go to a different website or whatever to see the institutional buys, but it's nice to be able to see it right here where you can also do your investing.
Yeah. I reflect back on my graduate school days. We had to go into SEC website to download all the reports. It was pretty painful. And so you really don't have to do that. This is, by the way, the institutional data is based on the required mandatory SEC filing that all of these institutions have to file on a quarterly basis. So that is why the data is the same as you would get elsewhere, but it's so much easier to digest. And the next one that's useful is hypothetical portfolio. What this means is, let's say I've added a few stocks, Aaron, one of your favorites, Disney, and maybe I have added Oracle, I've added Rivian, and just as an investor, those happen to be on sort of my hot list. I can easily create that as a portfolio, but this is a hypothetical portfolio. I oftentimes think of this as the fantasy sports. My husband is a big sports fan. That's what he does when it comes to that season. So it's almost like you pick your fantasy sport team players, and then you put it out to the market and see, is my team winning? Winning in this sense is measured by, am I beating the market average return or not? And this work collectively by all the traders within the Moomoo community then presents this hypothetical portfolio list here for you as well to quickly take a look and say, what did other people put in their portfolio? Which portfolio is returning better? I'm curious. That helps you as another method to discover different stocks that may be helping, or you could also have hey, seems to be their kind of trading, this is their portfolio of items they have picked. I personally may or may not do that. It just gives you all of that foresight before you jump in with your own money.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Carolyn.
Great. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. I know courses is such a thing with investors. a lot of us are looking for authentic, objective, and insightful training courses so that we can become a better trader. But I have to say, even before I joined Moomoo, it was not easy for me to really find a library of uh, trustworthy and objective training courses. This is something we have asked the Moomoo users to cast votes on and really turned back as one of the most popular features. I know, Aaron, you guys at Bazinga also do a lot of the trader education. Have you seen traders also are more eager to learn? And what are some topics that are also hot for traders?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot of our audience have been newer investors that have come into the markets the past couple of years. So really, any sort of trading or investing kind of 101 crash course, which I know we're kind of trying to do here in the webinar. But Carolyn, maybe we got to talk more about how we can do some of these courses together, because that'd be fun to do a Benzinga and Moomoo trading course. But there's a lot of good content out there, whether you go to somewhere like Moomoo, whether you go to Benzinga. And I would recommend, I mean, there's a lot of free information out there. There are people online that you can try to find that are selling courses and stuff. And I would say just wait for that. I would say take in a lot of the free information first, see how it works, and then maybe Caroline, we put out a Benzinga and Moomoo course to help some people.
Yeah, definitely. We work really well with Benzinga, and we're more than happy to create a joint effort on this. Oh, on that note, I'd love to launch our second poll. I'd love to know from our audience, what topics have you personally take training courses on? And leave it in the chat for us, what topics you would like to receive further training on. Options trading.
I was gonna say, I know that options trading is one of the big ones that we see people want to learn more about.
Yeah, options is such a sort of unique concept. I know, if you speak with your family and friends, they oftentimes would be passing around these triple sort of urban legends about someone made a billion, sorry, not a billion, made a lot of money from trading options. But also you hear the flip side, oh, options could really be risky. I can totally empathize that wanting to learn options is important. In fact, we have internal data that proved when the market becomes more volatile, the usage of options itself rises up, obviously, but at the same time, as experienced traders know, if you want to better manage your risks, you almost want to associate your trades with options, and that could be one of the topics we can cover in the future webinars. With that,
Yeah,
yeah, I encourage you guys. This vote is slower than last time, guys. We're at about 70. Continue casting your vote, folks. I got 60, 70. This feels like looking at the real-time quotes right now.
yeah, just seeing the numbers go up and down. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the options. I mean, like you said, Carolyn, you'll hear the stories of people losing everything they have or making a bunch of money, but there are smart ways to use options too, and you can use them to hedge your existing positions. So maybe in some subsequent webinars or courses, we can get more into that.
Yeah, totally. I have one of the things I have heard as a brilliant way to talk about options. It's options are like your sort of coupons for buying pizza for 15% off. But how exactly does that play out? We really should unpack that in a longer course. So with that, I will get us back to taking a look at our polls. So where are we? We got a lot of folks, as predicted. Many of us would love to learn more about options trading, and technical and fundamental. I'm slightly surprised that the split between technical and fundamental is equal, which is interesting. And all of the above, you guys are kudos students, 5-star students. We will get there. We'll definitely be more than happy to create more educational content covering these topics. Awesome. So let's take a look at what other ways we can do better. let me go ahead. I think I may have accidentally clicked that. Yes. The other thing, Aaron, I was curious about as well is whether you have the same sort of just a very ritual thing I do every morning. I pull up my financial news and I almost just have it play in the background while I prepare for the morning. Is that something you do as well?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially here at Benzinga, right? We are a financial news outlet. We know the importance of news, and news that moves stocks, right? You see a lot of times, anytime there's big moves in the markets, it's usually news driven. So it's very important for traders to be on top of the news going on. So again, I can't express enough the importance of having everything in one app like Moomoo has allowed you to have. And you can see Benzinga News in your Moomoo app, so that way you can keep track of what's going on in the financial world without ever having to leave your brokerage.
Yeah, this is also one other thing I personally have found super helpful is we know news moves the market, but ultimately news may move the price of your position of the stocks you had either bought or wanted to buy. How do you sift through the news just to hone in on or zero in on the stocks that really matter to you? This is where on the news top menu. So if you were to look at the bottom mega menu and you hit on news, within that news content itself, you want to hit on watch list. In watch list, all of the news within that is going to be a view only pertinent to you. And this is why you wanted to add certain stocks in your watch list. It makes it super easy for you to just kind of block off the noise of other kind of stuff. Like again, this is me, but like for instance, I don't know much about bioscience. I almost never tune into the news about that. I could be missing out billions. But as an example, I don't want to have that. How do I really go through? This is the way to kind of really stay focused. Awesome. Let me show the next one. So with that, Aaron, we've mentioned about this trifecta of becoming a better trader. Let's say it's sort of us just had a great tennis play. Now it's time. Actually, tennis probably is not the best example. I've heard enough stories about the NBA players or their coaches would be replaying the game over and over and over and over, or the NFL games, right? This feels very much like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's you have your game time. That's when you're trading, and now's the post game time when you're in the film room, trying to figure out what you did well, what you didn't do well. So, and again, I can't express the importance of this enough. It
Yeah.
was something that allowed me to kind of take the next step.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, almost every trader will take some losses, but the better traders or the best traders, we reflect and analyze so that we can learn from the losses. And our goal here is try not to repeat the same losses for the same reasons over and over again. And how do you do that? I love to invite Aaron to kind of help us break this down a little bit.
Yeah, so here's the step one is just reviewing your trades and kind of did they live up to your expectations, right? How do you review your trades, and then analyzing any deviation from your original analysis. So what made you change your strategy up, or why did you do this versus that? And I find myself doing that a lot with where I'll sell a stock and I'll think to myself, a month later when that stock is way higher than I sold it at, what made me sell that? And I'll think about it. And so the next time I'm in a scenario like that, I think to myself, remember when I emotionally, I didn't like looking at that loss, so I sold and I got out of that trade. And then that will encourage me next time to maybe change up my strategy.
Yeah, that makes sense. As we analyze, one of the things I know it does come up and we discuss internally as well is the concept of back testing. Back testing is very common when it comes to reviewing your trades, but back testing is almost only one part of your post trade analysis because back testing primarily is to say, I thought it's a specific stock, let's say Apple, was going to go up by 20%. And now that it's been said and done, let's review the price chart itself and see if that has matched, in a simplistic term. But on the other hand, post trade analysis has a lot to do also with how did we control ourselves what were some other assumptions we've had? Maybe it wasn't so much just about the price movement itself. That's the technical analysis. Maybe I also thought about, oh, Apple was going to release this new product. I think this is going to be huge. Well, that didn't live up to what I thought. Example. So almost every factor that may have contributed to your stocks, to your trades.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that back testing method is really helpful to look back and say, how would this have strategy helped me here, or how would it have, what would this strategy have led me to do in this situation? And you can kind of see what strategies are right for you and your trading,
That's
your
right.
style of trading.
That's right. So with that, we can wrap this up in just a couple more tools that you can leverage within the Moomoo app. One of them is actually an AI-powered price prediction feature. It's called Similar Charts. The way how you can access that, again, if you are on any of the stock quotes page, you can hit, there's a small icon right next to the price graph. Once you click that, it brings up a hidden menu. I like hidden menus. And you will be able to then click on one of the features called Similar Charts. Then you see this orange button to the right. When you hit that, you will be able to be shown of, based on big data, where mathematically this price is going to go. Again, this is not investment advice, but it really acts like a second pair of eyes for you. And the method we make it work is in technical analysis. What the method basically is based on the price movements that kind of factor in all the supply and demand in the market. So if I could find similar patterns elsewhere, that might give me some clue. And I know, Aaron, you have a hard stop very soon. I'm going to show the rest of the content. So I'm going to go ahead and show the other point we had mentioned earlier, trading notes. So reflect back, before we start taking any of these trades, we would have jotted down our trading notes. Now it's a time to go back and reflect on those. Then with that, let's take a look. We have come to the end of today's content. If you like this webinar, we'd really love for you guys to take a survey, let us know, or you should subscribe to our webinar channel at webinars.moomoo.com. We're gonna produce more webinars like this. I see questions from the audience about whether we're going to share the recording, the slides. We will try to do that as quickly as we can turn this around. And with that said, any questions? And I can handle some of those questions. I can stay a little bit longer. Aaron, I believe you have almost a hard stop in about a minute or two.
I do. Thank you guys, everyone, for joining today. It was my pleasure to be here with you, Carolyn.
Yeah,
Hopefully looking
as
forward to
always.
the next one. I'll go ahead, and if anyone's curious or wants to stay in touch, I'll drop my Twitter in the chat. You can give me a follow there. But thank you again, Carolyn, for inviting me. I thought this was a lot of fun, and hopefully people thought it was valuable.
Yeah, I do see a lot of thanks in the chats. I'm so glad that you guys found this useful. Actually, my team just pinged me. One of the users asked if I could demo where and how to use the trading notes. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, I'll let you go ahead and do that, Carolyn. I'm going to go ahead and leave. Hopefully, like I said, next time I'll be back. Everyone have a great day and happy trading.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aaron.
Bye.
Let me go ahead and show you guys where to find the app. So I'm going to load up my Moomoo app. This is my personal watch list by default. And as mentioned, if you are interested in any stocks, let's say Rivian, and you want to take a trading note, I'm going to tell the app, this is my mobile phone. So it's really easy. Usually I see the app like this, and if I tilt it, it just loads up more detailed graphs. And obviously I can change the view of it, 3 months, 1 year, and you can really change the sort of price movements down to the really small segments, 1 month, 5 month, etc. All of those you can, oh, sorry, I misspoke, 5 minute, 3 minute, 1 minute price movements. Let's say I now have seen, this seems to be an interesting point I want to enter. I'm going to hit that pen icon, and to the right-hand side, there's a small letter AA. I'm going to hit that AA, And I'm going to draw down something right here and say, okay, good time to buy. Good, oops, I can't type. Good time to buy. Then that is my note. I may put it right there and I can point it specifically to, for instance, right here. I think this is rising. And obviously, just to personalize, you can change the color into anything you want. Purple actually did stand out pretty well, so I'm going to leave it as purple. Oh, by the way, just to come back to this note, I can also lock it. Oh, I do this a lot, sorry. I always forget that I actually wipe it out. Let's just say now. That's my note. And you can see my now note is here. So this purple chart shows where I have jotted down my note right there. All right, this is my note and say time, and I can lock this note, which helps me not to come back and change it. And when I look at the price trend itself, my note specifically noted at this hour, at this minute, at this date, and what I was thinking. To our point earlier, you can also jot down your emotional feelings and thoughts, etc., so that you can stay really informed. And no good memory can beat the better usage of pen and paper. In this case, your digital pen and paper on Moomoo. I'm going to pause, and I saw some hands raising. Is the institutional holding feature only available on mobile and not on desktop? No, it is available on both sides. So one of the things good about Moomoo is the mobile and the desktop apps are always synchronized simultaneously. Anything you change on your mobile app changes on the desktop app. So I hope that helps. The other example is how to transfer stocks. Oh, I think my team will get back to you on that. This is a little bit of a specific question by our users. Let me go ahead and see. There was a question about the news. I'm going to show you. So in here, this is what I meant by the lower mega menu. If I hit on news, I can see news, the 24/7 news. And again, we mentioned news is updated real time. So this literally was the news that came at 10:50. Now it's 10:54 a.m. Pacific time. The other thing I personally like about is the videos feature. I oftentimes play the video as I do other things, just makes it easy. Watch list. I've seen some users saying that they didn't know that you can actually filter your news by the watch list. You can also do a further filter. You could say, I only care about US stocks. I only care about my own positions, not just what I watch. And earlier we had mentioned you can create your own hypothetical portfolio. So for me, I created a hypothetical portfolio called e-commerce stocks. So if I change that, even the things on my watch list itself get further filtered. And news itself has calendar. Calendar is a feature I personally find super helpful. Again, just us all managing so many things in life. I have like 3 kids, calendars have to manage. I'm already calendared out. So not having to remember IPO and earnings reports is super helpful. And especially like unemployment data, labor's department, the economics, et cetera, they're all here. It makes it super easy. There's also just a lot of other content that if you want, you can see. All right. I'm going to ask my webinar managers of key questions, whether we have addressed all of the key questions. All right, I'll stop sharing on the phone just for a second.
Hey, Karen, we have a question in chat that asks about the Money Plus button on the bottom.
Oh, the Money Plus button, that is actually this particular app that I am testing is a alpha app. So it is actually a different capability. It's in beta testing. Alpha. We do provide Money Plus services in other markets, such as Hong Kong, well, this speaks to sort of our sister groups. They provide wealth management, employee stock options plans, Money Plus. But Moomoo, as early in our development, we're focusing on the retail traders right now, but we have the plans to provide more services in the near future as well. Any news if the app will be available in the UK? We will go where our customers want us to go. So please do tell us where you would like us to go. That will really help us to prioritize the markets where we can better serve. I think something I'm pretty excited to share is we have secured a proper license in Australia. We have announced our plan to launch in Australia. Yes, email us at marketing@moomoo.com with your needs, with your asks. I saw earlier there are questions about some of the asset classes as well. Tell us where we should go. Tell us what we should support. The key to Moomoo's success and my own personal joy is we listen to customers. We help to make your financial lives easier. How can I open an account in Moomoo? Go to our moomoo.com website and look for the top menu, downloads, free stocks. They go through similar process. We have free stocks for new clients, and you can just follow the step-by-step within the app. It will right off the bat, I need to confirm. I need to just let you all know if you haven't, but opening a brokerage account with Moomoo does require you to provide all the personal information that is required by law. We need to collect such as your real legal name, your mailing address, etc. So you will go through that process to open the account. And in the app, you can also very easily link your banking account with Moomoo, so you can fund it when the opportunity is right. You can jump right into the position. Yes, I saw your ask as well. Please make a Moomoo web app so we can access our accounts on desktop. This is the browser trading. We are definitely collecting data on that to help prioritize our resources. So thank you for raising that need. Team, do we have key questions we should address as well? We're good. We're at the top of the hour. Thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful that you found this helpful. Until next time, we will be back.